Welcome back with another banger. It's the React Files. Hope you having a good night. If you haven't already, please take a second
just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell,
just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. So let's get straight to it.
He's got nowhere to go, and so he's decided to come to the South Bronx. He's broke. He needs to pay these legal funds, and busing people in order to get those donations so that he can funnel them to his legal fees is kind of his business right now.
Amazing. I think it's epic.
That's the best thing ever.
How will he be received here?
Open arms.
I stand with Trump, I stand with Trump. United we stand, divided we fall. Indict our president, you better indict us all. United we stand, okay, divided we fall. Indict our president, you better indict us all. Who lucky me, I just never crossed the border. Now, I came in the right way. Come on, take a move, don't talk to the reporters. Mira, Senorita, Aerobino is a heavy. Codeine is better now, they dying young. I'm riding around Miami, getting chauffeured in the dawn. Yeah, I'm going there, no, let's get along. United we stand, we play together, we're strong. Yeah, it's time to stand on this. Hey, back up, son. Back up a little bit. Yeah, let's stay on with it. Ever since I saw my party, they put me on the hit list. I stand with Trump, I stand with Trump. I stand with Trump, I stand with Trump.
Yo, it's looking like an episode of the Boondocks out there. For sure. You got the hood shooting music videos. That's what's up. I'd rather see the hood shoot music videos than to shoot guns. Any day.
All right, y'all, so I took a quick 2-hour break and I just got back out to Crotona Park. Now, when I came over here, I was completely shocked because this line was not here just 2 hours ago. Now, this is one road right here, right? The beginning of the rally is up ahead still. This line stretches all the way down this road back here, and then you have groups of people up front. So I just wanted to give you guys an example of how drastically this scene has changed in just 2 hours. I left at around 12:30, 1 p.m. And no, I lied. I left at 1:30, an hour and a half before doors open. Doors are now open, and these streets are absolutely packed with people waiting to get into this rally. It's crazy.
25,000 people for a venue that only sits 3,500? Trump looking like a rock star out there in the Bronx. He might as well went to Yankee Stadium.
Here as well as rapper Chef G. Does everybody know Chef? Where is Chef G? Where is he?
One thing I want to say, they always gonna whisper your accomplishments and shout your failures. Trump gonna shout the wins for all of us. Make America great again.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. That's what I like, those teeth. I want to find out where you did. I got to get my teeth like that. I want that to happen to me.
Shout out to the Bronx, where thousands showed up in one of the most heavily Democratic areas in the U.S. Shout out to Sleepy Hollow. Shout out to Chef G. And of course, Donald Trump. Nor the good citizens of the Bronx.
The world's first head transplant machine has been unveiled. BrainBridge created a concept using AI and robotics to transplant a human head. It could offer new hope to those suffering from untreatable conditions, such as terminal cancer and neurodegenerative diseases. Modern medicine has been unable to properly reconnect the nerves and spinal cord. Until a way is found, any head transplants would result in paralysis. However, some scientists believe they've found a chemical capable of the near impossible task, polyethylene glycol. But can it be done?
Interesting. First Neuralink, now BrainBridge comes out with the first head transplant. Yeah, some worry it might lead to paralysis. And I think that's a lot of people's worry. It sucks we got a head transplant before Grand Theft Auto 6.
People were writing shit down 36,000 years ago?
Thoth authored these tablets himself. He didn't have a scribe. A lot of the times these god figures or these leaders would have scribes.
Right.
He actually wrote it down himself. He actually put it onto these tablets.
And what is he writing in? What language?
Well, it looked like the language was runes, R-U-N-E-S. And in this text, he writes about coming to this planet after the Great Flood and seeing the temples of ancient Kemet sticking up out of the mud and actually going on a mission to help rebuild civilization. Not that it was for the first time, but he's rebuilding it to a high level.
So it was already built, destroyed. He's like, hey, let's run it back again.
Right. His father sends him on a mission. His father says, go to the land of Kem and do the plan that ye know of. So he gets his crew and he gets into the great ship of the master and he takes off until the planet disappears. Because when he gets over the land of Kem, he goes, I see the land of Kem beneath us. And I see the temples rising up out of the mud that were flooded by the fountains.
Now we come back.
Now he comes down to the ground.
The fountains is the Great Flood.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
He opens the door, he comes out, and he calls these people barbarians coming to attack him. Probably territorial.
Crazy.
And he says, I raised my staff and sent out a ray of vibration, stopping them still as fragments of stone of the mountain. So now he's got a stun gun that can freeze them in their tracks.
That's fire.
That's technology. And we have
so is the spaceship.
Now that's technology for real. Seems like he know how to manipulate the ethers. Sound like something we seen in my last video. A staff that could send a stone up the mountain. Shout outs to Billy Carson, dropping them gems.
So this guy really wants to impress his wife, so he hires some other guys to go and kidnap her so that he can come rescue her and look like a hero. What could possibly go wrong? Now his name is Michael, and one day his wife, this woman, Shonda discovers that Michael's been cheating on her. So she kicks him out. And Michael gets pissed and defensive. He starts like threatening her, and then he goes and he files for divorce. But then, all of a sudden, Michael decides he's changed his mind. And he really wants her back. But Shonda, she's like, nah. And so from then on, Michael tries everything he can think of to win her back. He threatens to release their private videos to everyone she knows, because apparently they made some adult videos together. But Shonda still says no, she doesn't want to be with him. And so Michael starts sending those videos to her family and friends. And when that doesn't work, he like breaks into her house and he threatens her with a pew-pew. And surprise, surprise, that doesn't work either. Now during all this, Michael's been staying in this old house that they own over in Mississippi. And there, Michael's feeling lonely and he's feeling sorry for himself and nothing he tries is working. And that is when he comes up with his best idea yet to win Shonda back. He's gonna hire a couple of henchmen to kidnap her. Once she's kidnapped, Michael plans to swoop in and like fake rescue her and save the day. And then if all goes well, she'll fall back in love with him. I mean, it's the perfect plan. Like, there's no way this could fail. So he goes and he hires a couple of henchmen to play the kidnappers, and he buys some handcuffs and he rents a van, and then weeks later, Shonda's at home, and her doorbell rings, and then she goes to the door, and it's the two henchmen, and they're wearing delivery uniforms, and they're like, special delivery, or whatever, and before she can react, they pull out pew-pews, and they say, get on the ground! And then they handcuff her and they force her inside the van, and then they speed away. And as they're driving, one of the henchmen holds a pew-pew to her head, and he rips off her clothes and he forces pills into her mouth. And she is so scared, she's about to pass out. Meanwhile, a cop just happens to be driving behind them. This cop, Chad. Now Chad just got off work, he's on his way home, and he ends up behind the van. The henchman driving the van sees Chad, and then he gets up on the shoulder to get away from him. And Chad's like, that's suspicious, and he pulls the van over. But the van doesn't pull over. It speeds away. And it drives fast, and it pulls off the main road onto a dirt road into this like swamp kind of area. And then the van gets stuck in the mud, because it had just rained. And at this point, the henchmen are like freaking out. They're like, we didn't sign up for all this. And they just abandon the whole kidnapping plan, and they ditch the van, and they run away, and they flee to a nearby canal, and they jump in and they swim away. While Chad, he pulls up to the van, and he approaches and he opens the rear door, and there he finds Shonda in the back, naked and handcuffed. So police bring her to the hospital to recover, and they put her in a safe house. Now, the two henchmen who had jumped in the canal and got away, they didn't actually get away. They actually both end up drowning in that canal. So police find their bodies and they're like, what the f***? And they start investigating all this. And the first thing they find is the kidnapping van was rented in Michael's name. So this is already not looking good for him. So then Michael, he has to come up with another flawless plan. He's gonna fake some pictures and make it look like he can't possibly be involved in this kidnapping because he got kidnapped too. So he ties himself up, and I guess he beats himself up, and he sets up a camera and takes a photo of himself, and he texts that photo to Shonda as if he's one of the henchmen. And he's like, "We just kidnapped your husband," and he pretends to demand ransom money. Here's the thing though. Police know the text couldn't have come from the henchman because the henchman had just drowned a few days before. I guess Michael hadn't gotten the news yet. So police know he's staging his own kidnapping, and they go out looking for him. And there's like a whole manhunt, and it lasts around 4 days, and then finally they find him hiding out in a seedy motel. And they already have all this evidence against him, but here's what really screwed him. In that old Mississippi house he was staying in, he bought some of those little cameras to place inside for like security reasons. But what he didn't know is that these cameras are the kind that automatically start recording once they hear noise. So anytime he was in the house talking, these cameras would come on and record him. So police end up with hundreds of hours of footage, and tons of it was him laying out his whole kidnapping plan. So anyway, police arrest him, here's his mugshot, he goes to trial, he's found guilty, he gets 35 years in prison. And most of this happened in Louisiana, so shout out to Louisiana.
Shout outs to Louisiana. That's a crazy story. That was a crazy mugshot. Luckily, them two survived miraculously. Unfortunately, they're still out on foot. So the cops are searching for them now. Now that's the last place that I would want to be stuck in the traffic jam. On the side of a mountain, Mount Everest at that. Yo, no bueno.
Parents, listen, this is scarier. Your kid's drinking this 3 times the level of forever chemicals, PFAs, found in this.
All right, let's talk about it. After I corrected the TikTok lawyer with facts debunking this crap, I never thought I'd have to do the same to a carrot-colored Instagram doctor. You'd think after this guy already got sentenced to 16 years of probation for stealing $1.4 million from his adopted children's trust fund, true story, he'd stop lying for his financial benefit. And I guess it doesn't surprise me that he calls himself a doctor when he's really just a chiropractor whose license has been suspended and is currently considered expired and on probation. So look, obviously we sent this guy cease and desist. I got him to like half apologize, but in the same video, he just doubled down on his bullshit.
Logan Paul from Prime Hydration and Energy Drinks sent me this cease and desist. He was not happy about this video. However, Logan, I do apologize.
He's even getting called out and corrected in his own comment section for spreading misinformation, but now I gotta come on here and expose the guy because he can't tell the difference between a can of Prime Energy and a bottle of Prime Hydration.
But Logan, don't shoot the messenger. I was just bringing the message.
Hey, don't worry, bro. I'm not going to shoot you. But Prime is considering suing you for the millions of dollars of damage you caused to make you file for bankruptcy a second time. Buddy, you don't know a single thing about what you're claiming, but if I ever want to overdose on self-tanner or get my back cracked, I'm coming straight to you. So look, send the video, share the video. Mom, send it out because we don't want our kids being influenced by an Instagram chiropractor who stole $1.4 million from his own children.
You can't call on the help from parents if you stole $1.4 million from your kids. It's crazy. I like how Logan's fighting for his company though.
It's time to sound the alarm. We've been distracted. Guys, I'm not playing and this is not a drill. It's time to start preparing. Preparing food, water, etc. Sources say China will invade Taiwan in early June. And it gets much worse than this. And global press is a very trusted source. Now the insane part, early June, probably sooner. Right this minute, China literally has Taiwan completely surrounded in the Taiwanese Strait and the Pacific Ocean. Again, completely surrounded. This is both military boats and military planes. Why? Well, this screenshot alleges serving as punishment for the Separation Act of Taiwan. Punishment. And also warning of interference, provocation by external forces like us. But wait, that's not all. We literally have a standoff happening right now between Taiwan and China. No wonder for the King's Portrait and the Diddy bullcrap. Makes sense now, right? Get ready.
This is my first time hearing of this. Shout out to Inspired by the King. Now that isn't very good news, is it? Definitely got to look more into this one.
There's an anime called Psycho-Pass that I recommend everybody watch, and it's this AI that is like 100 or 1,000 brains of different people of society, criminals, billionaires, peasants, everything, and it forms what is supposed to be the controlled neutral mind, but it's not neutral. It's extremely biased. And in the anime, it kind of shows you that entire narrative of a credit system, of a mental check, of a daily pill that they need to consume to manage their mental level and their mood. So civilization has always flourished when the working class are subjugated and they are enslaved, and that's how you build societies. Unfortunately, societies are built on the back of slaves, and today we just have modern day slaves.
Is Jesus part alien?
I believe so.
And was he part alien and trying to do good?
Yes, I believe so.
So he was breaking away, he was using his power, and he's like, yo, what these aliens are doing to us is fucked up.
Right.
We need to break free from that, and I'm going to liberate the people.
We're all part alien at this point, right?
Absolutely. It's in our DNA.
Ah, fuck. I thought he was a little bit more.
Well, he was more. He was a little bit more, yes.
How was he a little bit more?
Well, if you look at the Apocrypha text, you discover that not only was Jesus' mom a virgin birth, but his grandmother was also a virgin birth. So you see this establishment of this particular bloodline.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he comes through the womb and then begins to regain all of his own memories. So he is a reincarnation of himself from a previous lifetime.
Oof.
That's why sometimes I hypothesize that he could be Thoth the Atlantean, who says that he could incarnate on and in any plane he desires. Could he have decided now to come back through the womb?
So Thoth the Atlantean was the king of the Atlantean Empire.
He was one of them.
Or one of the leaders of the Atlantean Empire. He is reincarnating inside Jesus.
Yeah.
And why has he chosen to help the people instead of enslave us like he did in the
Good
past?
question. When you look at the ancient text where Jesus gets all of his information from,
the
Emerald Tablets of Thoth.
We need to talk about the Emerald Tablets, bro.
38,000-year-old text.
So this woman unalives her husband and then blames it on her own daughter. Now her name's Stacy, and one day Stacy falls in love and she gets married. But unfortunately, the guy dies of a heart attack. Then, about a year later, she finds love again when she meets this guy, David. And eventually, Stacy and David get married. And things, I guess, are going well. Until they're not. Because one day, Stacy and David get into a horrible fight. Like, it's really bad. Like, the fight lasts 7 hours. That bad. And David gets so mad, he eventually locks himself in their bedroom with a bottle of alcohol. Because he doesn't want to see anyone. So Stacy and the kids, they all go stay elsewhere to let David cool off. And 3 days go by, and David is still locked in the bedroom. And Stacy hasn't heard from him, so she calls 911 to have them go over there and do a wellness check.
Police communications, can I help you? My husband didn't show up to work this morning. I don't know what's going on.
So police and paramedics, they go there and they knock, but there's no response, so they end up kicking the bedroom door down, and that is where they find David on the bed, unalived. And they also find an empty bottle of antifreeze under the bed. And they see a glass of it on the nightstand next to a bottle of alcohol. So it looks like David just unalived himself with some antifreeze. And Stacy confirms that, yeah, he had been depressed. And it's unfortunate, but it looks like it's an open and shut case of suicide. Until some of the detectives who are working on the case, they're not really buying the whole suicide thing. Because strangely, in David's will, he left all of his money to Stacy and her daughters, while leaving nothing to his own biological son from his previous marriage. And this shocks everyone. So police start thinking this might have been a homicide. They get to work investigating. Now, there are multiple detectives working on this case, but there's one main guy. This guy, Detective Spinelli. And just to make this story less confusing, I'm going to make Spinelli stand in for all the different detectives working on this case. So Spinelli launches a full investigation, and it seems like he suspects Stacy might have poisoned David with antifreeze. And Spinelli's like, I want to talk to Stacy's first husband, see if he'll give me the tea. But unfortunately, as we already saw, Stacy's first husband has already passed away from a heart attack. Or did he? So Spinelli's like, alright, that's weird. And he petitions the court to get first husband's body exhumed. And it takes a while, like 2 years go by, but they finally grant him permission. And so they exhume the body, and when the autopsy report comes back, first husband's insides are loaded with crystals, which is a telltale sign of antifreeze poisoning. And Spinelli's like, I knew it! This bitch killed both her husbands with antifreeze. So they bring Stacy in for questioning, and Spinelli doesn't really get much out of her. But he's not giving up. He goes out and he finds Stacy's daughter, who had just started college. And we'll just call her Daughter. So he goes to Daughter's college to talk to her, and he informs her that when her dad died all those years ago, it wasn't from a heart attack. He actually died from antifreeze poisoning. And Daughter like freaks out, like, what? Dad died of antifreeze poisoning? And she calls her mom. And Stacy's like, how dare the police harass you? But she's also like, hey, life is hard. Let's have a drink when you get home. So eventually Daughter goes home, and she and her mom, Stacy, end up having a drink together, which Stacy prepares. But then, after one drink, Daughter's suddenly tired, and she goes to bed. The next morning, Daughter's sister goes into the bedroom and finds her there in the bed, barely breathing. So she runs to her mom and she's like, Daughter's not breathing, call 911. So Stacy calls 911, and police and paramedics get there, and they discover that Daughter had left a suicide note, which basically says, I'm gonna unalive myself, but it also confesses that she is the one who unalived her dad and her stepdad with antifreeze. And it says that police should stop investigating her mom. Here's the thing though, Daughter isn't quite dead yet, and paramedics get there with enough time to rush her to the hospital and save her. And they find that Daughter had also ingested antifreeze, but luckily she survives. And pretty much as soon as Daughter wakes up, Spinelli's there, and he's like, oh, tell me more about your suicide note and why you unalived your father and your stepfather. And Daughter's like, what the fuck? I never tried to unalive myself or anyone else. And Spinelli shows her the suicide note, and she's like, I didn't write that. Which makes sense, because Daughter has at least somewhat of a college education, and whoever wrote this note appears to be allergic to punctuation. Like, there's not a single comma or period in it. Like, it drives me nuts. Like, grammar check your suicide notes, people. Come on. Anyway, here's what really happened. Back in the day, Stacy unalives her first husband with antifreeze. Then she gets remarried and unalives her second husband with antifreeze. And when police get too close, she then tries to unalive her own daughter with antifreeze, and then blame all the murders on her daughter by writing a fake suicide note. They also find Stacy's fingerprints on the glass of antifreeze next to David's bed, and they find multiple drafts of Daughter's suicide note on Stacy's computer. So police arrest her, here's her mugshot, they charge her with the murder of David and with the attempted murder of her daughter, but I guess they don't have enough evidence to charge her with her first husband's murder. Regardless, she's convicted and sentenced to just over 51 years in prison. And about 7 years into her sentence, she dies of a heart attack. Womp womp. Shout out to New York.
Huge problem.
Neighbors.
AOC was asked about the president's going to the Bronx, and this is how which he surmised.
He's hosting a rally to try to con people and try to fleece them out of every dollar that they have to fund his own legal fees. And by the way, he's doing it in the South Bronx not to make a point, but because he's got court. And the man practically has the legal version of an ankle bracelet around him, and he can't leave the 5 boroughs because he always has to be in court. And so it is truly an embarrassment to him. And I am looking forward to the response of everyday Bronxites talking about how they feel about him coming to their backyard.
Bronxites?
Isn't this the person that ran Amazon out of her district?
Right. Not only that, though, the irony is that she would not be in Congress if the third highest ranking Democrat wasn't so arrogant and that he didn't even go campaign. So she understands the importance of campaigning. You know what? Listen, I have a lot of relatives in the South Bronx. I was on the board of a charter school in the South Bronx, and I'm thrilled President Trump is going there. I wish he would go to Harlem. 2 Mondays ago, my niece was shot on the street that I grew up on. My niece was shot on the street that I grew up on. She doesn't even hang out there. She doesn't even live on the block anymore, but a good friend of mine I've known for 45 years, her son passed away, and they were having a memorial for him. And so these guys, the gang violence is on the rise so much, it's so underreported. So they come around with the mask. The shooting crazy. The one third floor apartment was all busted up.
Were they looking for somebody in particular?
Yeah, another gang guy. But she had 4-hour surgery. She's okay now. She went home 2 days ago. And then Cookie, who was shot also, she's gone home.
Who's Cookie?
The other girl. The 2 of them were shot. And so Cookie's the one I've known for 45 years. I went to go visit them both in Harlem Hospital. But it's just, our country is really getting so cracked apart where the haves are doing extraordinarily well. Right. And again, they live in safety, and they live in, they eat their avocado toast, and the rest of us, whether it's in places where the opioid epidemic is out of control, or places like My neighborhood was being gentrified, but this gang thing has really been amazing. I had no idea it was this bad. It's really bad.
You know what's going to happen? These illegal immigrants are gangsters. They're going to start fighting American gangs.
They're intertwined. They're intertwined. A buddy of mine in the Bronx, he talked about a lot of illegal immigrants have joined up with certain other, folks. They're all intertwined in these gangs. No one will report on it, but it's really bad.
Charles, can you explain the black male support with Donald Trump? Because there seems to be a divide.
I'm not surprised. I saw this coming in so many ways. And I try to explain it to people all the time. There's two things. Older black people, right, like my mother's age, she passed away, but who they grew up in a time of immense fear. I remember going to Alabama as a kid in the 60s and walking down the road. You could feel it. Even though I was a kid, you could feel there was a palpable fear. There was a blind woman, a white woman who owned this store. It's a shack. She was blind. Coins everywhere. No one stole anything. And I said to myself, even as a kid, someone must have been lynched or something. But there was palpable fear, right? So they grew up with that. My grandmother, she didn't sleep with a pillow. She slept with her arms crossed. She had to have both ears open. She was always afraid the night riders would come and she wanted to hear them.
Oh, my goodness.
There's that group. Then you have young folks, right? My son, 27, so for the last few years I've been listening to music. When they hear Rick Ross and Drake and these guys talking about owning things, they're arguing over who works the hardest. Right. And they don't want public housing, they don't want free housing, they don't want free food. They want the American dream, so particularly young black men. And listen, they're being shut out. They're being shut out by progressives. Progressives who own corporations, they're discriminating against black people, black men. Look at Hollywood. That will tell you everything you need to know.
Shout outs to Charles Payne. Rest in peace, Cookie. We wish your niece a speedy recovery. He was hitting on a lot of good points. The gang violence is crazy. He said that the whole third floor is shut up. The third floor. I mean, they just pointing up and just airing everything out, which is dangerous and which is horrible. Right? People need a safe place to live, especially in the safest place you can be in your homes. And I agree, there is a generation gap, No more public housing. They want the American dream. At this point, we all do. Let me know if you was at the Bronx rally to see Trump. And tell me how to go. What was your point of view? Were you safe? Did you feel comfortable? Let us know in the comments down below.
See you later.
And that's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed tonight's rabbit hole.
Just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell.
Just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. So what we gonna do, y'all? That's right. Run these numbers up. Thanks again. Until next time.